right, welcome to stage 2 of our 7-stage series, all about generating high quality business leads using LinkedIn. So this video is all about building a strong presence. So this is going to be for you if you're worried that your digital presence isn't building strong credibility and trust with your ideal clients. This is also for you if you're not sure what basic resources you need to have in place to support your marketing and outbound efforts. So in this video, we're going to be touching on the foundational assets that you need to have in place before you start trying to generate leads. So think about things like your website, lead magnets, CRMs. We're also going to be talking about how to optimize your LinkedIn profile more specifically, more tactically, in order to attract your ideal clients. So super quick intro for anyone who hasn't seen the other videos in the series. My name is Ryan Caswell, founder of b2bleads.com. We're a specialist lead gen agency for business service providers. I've sent 10 million messages over LinkedIn over the years across thousands of campaigns, hundreds of clients, and helped people all over the world build predictable lead generation systems using LinkedIn. So without further ado, let's get into it, talk about how to build a strong presence online. All right, let's first talk about what sort of foundational assets you need to have in place before you even start thinking about generating leads. So I'd say the key critical thing that you want to have in place at the very minimum is, well, if we're going to be using LinkedIn to generate leads, you're going to want to have your LinkedIn profile and LinkedIn company page. So that's your bare minimum. We're going to be using LinkedIn to reach out to people, and so you're going to need to have a profile so that you can even do anything on the platform. It should be fairly obvious. Now I'm going to leave this here because we're going to be spending more time on this particular one, because this is the most important one if you want to generate leads on LinkedIn. But there's a few other things that you'll want to have in place, or that you should consider either getting into place in order to have the most success with LinkedIn and generating leads. The other one is, of course, your website. One of the reasons I got into marketing was I actually used to work for a web development agency. And it used to pain me to see these people, they'd come in and they'd spend, they were small businesses, and they'd spend tens of thousands of dollars developing these websites that, were completely overpowered, and really, like, they'd come to us at the end of the day, or they'd come to the agency and just be like, well, where's my clients? And the sad thing is that that's not really the job of the website without the actual traffic. So what they would have been better off doing is actually putting that money into generating leads and spending less on the website. So a really important thing to consider is just making sure that you have your website, but not going crazy with it. There's a lot of platforms like Upwork or Fiverr where you can get websites built out pretty quickly. A lot of people get lost in trying to get it perfect. Just so long as you have a website in place and it aligns with the actual, strategy and services that you're going to provide, then that's really all that needs to be in place. I mean, a better website is obviously going to do more for you, but in the early stages of a business, you just don't have the resources to get it 100%. You just need something basic that looks okay and aligns with the actual strategy that you're going to be promoting via LinkedIn. So having a website is important, but don't get lost, go down the rabbit hole of trying to get it perfect, trying to get it looking like the Apples or the Googles or anything like that. You just want something basic that's going to support your LinkedIn profile and your LinkedIn outreach efforts. Don't get stuck into the trap of trying to do too much with your website. You just need to make sure that it's there. So some other things that are worth talking about. A lot of people, I think, go down the wrong track when it comes to CRMs as well. So a CRM is a fairly broad term, and it covers a lot of things, but a lot of clients or people, I think, get pushed into CRMs far too early before they really need them. And I've tested a lot of different CRMs out, a lot of different things, and I honestly think that spreadsheets are severely underrated. Spreadsheets are incredibly powerful things, and for most small businesses that don't have incredibly high volumes of leads and sales and big teams to deal with, there's really no need for these big overpowered CRMs. But the CRM companies are very good at promoting and marketing themselves, and so I guess a lot of people get pushed into these things because there's like all these powerful things that you can do with it, but the small businesses tend to lack the actual processes to automate, to get the value out of these systems. So something as simple as a spreadsheet to capture your client emails as you reach out to people is more than enough in the beginning. So, I mean, you can use a CRM or even just a basic email marketing platform. Things like MailChimp, I believe, have a great freemium model, maybe even ActiveCampaign, which is what I used to use in the beginning, have both two. I know MailChimp has a freemium model, so you can get started for free up to a certain number of contacts before they actually start charging you. ActiveCampaign, I think, might be similar. And at the moment, we're currently using Go High Level, but purely for email marketing and not for our actual sales CRM. So, like I said, I don't want people to get too stuck in CRM land. When you're first getting started or building out your lead generation system, just having some way to capture emails is important, because later, once you have enough emails, then it starts to make sense to actually reach out and start emailing these people and putting effort into email marketing strategies, which is incredibly powerful. But I often talk about, you lack the economy of scale until you have a big enough audience. And so until you have enough email addresses, I would just worry about capturing the email addresses, having building a process to do that first. Because unless you can do that, then the actual emailing of people becomes sort of irrelevant. So these are things to consider for later on down the track. If you're fairly well established and you have already got a good lead generation system in place, you should definitely consider setting up some sort of email marketing automation so that you get more bang for your buck and can nurture leads that are not ready to necessarily talk sales at the moment, which is a very large portion of your market. Now, something else you should highly consider, it's not going to be something that's going to stop you from getting started with your lead generation and whatnot, is something called lead magnets. Now, I know there's going to be a wide range of people watching this video. A lot of this is very obvious to and fairly rudimentary. But then there'll be people who this is all fairly new to. So lead magnets are essentially a resource that you create and give away for free. The aim being that you demonstrate your value, kind of like, why you're here, you're watching this video. It's a way to capture your prospects' information and communicate your value and add value to your clients or potential clients so that you build trust with the audience, and inevitably you'll get leads and clients out of it as a result. So there's a few different ways that you can generate lead magnets or create lead magnets and capture people's contact details. Some of the main ones is like having a PDF guide that people download. A VSL is a video sales letter. It's like a video that lives on your website, and it basically highlights calls out your target market and demonstrates the value you can provide and what credibility you have within your field. A really powerful strategy and one that I'd recommend. What else have we got? We got your VSL, you got courses. You can provide free courses or guides. Webinars are another really great strategy. People sign up for your register, you capture their email or contact details, and you get to demonstrate the value your company or your services can provide. And your understanding and your expertise in your field. Now, where I think a lot of people go wrong with lead magnets is they either try to do too many of these and they try to do too many within each one. So for example, they feel like if they're going to run regular webinars, they need to have like a whole bunch of different topics to talk about with their webinars. Whereas rather than having different topics to talk about with your webinars, you're better off actually creating one really good webinar and focusing on filling it with different people or new people every week. That way you're always introducing, your strategy should be actually to introduce new people all the time, building out that foundational base. So what I would suggest is think about what's a medium that you like to work in. Is it, creating or writing a guide? And things like ChatGPT or AI is a great way to help get you a structure in place, help write faster, and things like that. If you like video, I like video, I would focus on creating a video, whatever it is. Think about the main thing you want to focus on is what is my target market, what is their problem, and how can I help people, show how people can address that problem. You really want to make sure that it is incredibly valuable. You should feel nervous about how much value you're giving away. It should almost feel like people should be paying you for it. A lot of times people think that their resources are good, but I can guarantee you, unless you're feeling a little bit anxious about what you're actually giving away and what you're sharing, it's probably not as valuable as you think it is. So make sure you share something really valuable. You can even use qualification to make sure that it only goes out to people who fit your ICP, so you're not giving away great value content to the wrong people. You can even give time away. You can give strategy sessions and things like that. Just need to be careful because the market became saturated with things like strategy sessions and people really knew what they actually were, which was just sales calls. So think about what kind of value you can give away to your audience. And rather than thinking, all right, I need to create something for all of these, think about a structure or a problem or a value that you can work into each of these different formats. So what you're watching right now is our video series that take you through the entire thing from, working out what sort of strategies you need to do to develop a lead generation system all the way through to building it and scaling it up. So it works well as a video, a VSL, it works as a PDF. It's essentially a course, but we've put it into a PDF format, and our webinars very much follow the same content and structure. So rather than constantly trying to come up with new things, we're constantly reiterating the same one thing over and over and over again until it becomes good enough that it can convert clients or prospects to booked calls. Because take my word for it, it is tough to have valuable or good enough content that takes people from interested to wanting to jump on a call and potentially spend money with your team. And if you're constantly changing it drastically or just creating new different ones rather than iterating and learning from each one, then you're basically starting from scratch again. So when it comes to lead magnets, you don't necessarily need one to start. It will support any other marketing you do, and it's a great way to capture emails. But my advice is to pick a medium that suits you and your style and the way you like to communicate, and get that one medium, that one type of lead magnet really good before you start to think about other ways to do it. And make sure that whatever you provide is incredibly valuable and that you have a way to capture information from your potential clients in order to give it away. So a lot of websites will have that ability to capture an email address. We use things like Opt-in Monster to capture email and phone numbers. So definitely something that you should consider and be working on in the background. Don't let the fact that you may not have a CRM or a good lead magnet stop you from actually getting started generating leads or trying to reach out to your target market. But you definitely want to start thinking about these things, start getting these things in place or considering getting these things in place. The main thing is you need to have a basic website and obviously a LinkedIn profile so that you have a way to reach out to people, build trust, and start these conversations that we're going to be going over in just a minute, which is a good segue to work into how to optimize your LinkedIn profile so that when you reach out to people, it generates trust with your audience and it actually attracts your audience to you as well, your ideal client profiles. All right, so let's get into the most important part of this, getting your LinkedIn profile right. So I know we touched very briefly on things like CRMs, website, lead magnets. There's a ton of other great resources out there to go into those more specifically. I guess my point in this video is to really highlight where you need to prioritize your efforts. In order to get your lead generation right, a lot of what I'm talking about, yeah, it's important and it can help in the long run, but I want you to focus your efforts on where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And that's why we're going to spend most of the time talking about how to get your LinkedIn profile right. So your LinkedIn profile, we'll have a quick look here at just, what one looks like. Mine might look different at the moment. LinkedIn, it could be different from when you're looking at it now. LinkedIn's changed a lot over the years and it's constantly evolving platform. That's why a lot of what I'm teaching in this series is more foundational, high level information that's going to be consistent and foundational no matter what you do. Even if LinkedIn is no longer LinkedIn, this will still apply because it's foundational marketing concepts that we're going over. So I just wanted to give you a bit of a look here so I can talk about the 3 key things that we need to really highlight and optimize in order to get the most out of your LinkedIn. So this is your personal profile. You'll also have a company page, and the company page doesn't have to be too special. It's really more of anything, just a portal to get to your website and highlight the business a bit more, but your personal profile is going to be doing the same thing as well. So you really have three key things here. You got your imagery up the top, you got your profile picture, your banner, so they fall into your images, and then you also have obviously your title here, and if you scroll down, there's a bit of an about section or a summary. There's other things like featured articles which you can use, you can put experience, you can highlight your skills and get people to endorse them, and obviously you can get people to recommend you. All valuable things you can do, but the three key things I want to focus on here, and these are the critical things that we always do for our clients, and the others are just nice to haves if we can do them. It's really getting this top part, the imagery right, getting the about section right, and getting the headline right. So let's have a bit of a look at what that actually looks like and what that means in terms of actually taking action here. So if we're sort of to map this out, this is your headline or your profile picture here, and this is your background image. You have your headline, and you've got your summary section. Three key things that you need to get right, get in place. So let's start with the imagery. And this is one of the, I guess, most underrated and important components of LinkedIn, overlooked components of getting your LinkedIn strategy right. I've seen two profiles, both the same business, both the same strategy, do like completely differently purely because of how one person represented themselves versus another. And that sort of leads me into getting a good professional profile picture in place. So you want to have it looking professional, approachable. Yeah, professional and approachable. You want good lighting, high quality image, and you want to make sure that you're not looking all serious. You're reaching out to people. If you're going to be reaching out to people, or you want people to be coming to you, you got to be dealing with subconscious biases. Now, if you look unfriendly or unprofessional or disheveled or whatever it is, you might have a picture of you partying with your mates. It's not going to do you any favors in terms of building a good positive first impression. And that's what you're dealing with. It's up to you to make a good first impression, whether you like it or not. And so having a good professional profile picture is absolutely critical in order to get a better connection rate and a better engagement rate. Now, this background image here is, a lot of people don't do much with it, but it's almost like, if you've ever heard the saying, above the fold is gold, it refers to that when you fold the newspaper in half, when they, remember the days of newspapers, it's that top part of the newspaper that's readable when you actually walk past it and you decide whether or not you're going to buy it. It's the most important thing because it has to promote the actual newspaper and be interesting enough that people are going to want to read more and buy the newspaper. Same thing here. Consider your LinkedIn profile. This is the first thing that people captures their attention when you land on the page. So the more you can do to have that image actually capture their attention and want to read more, the better. So we talked in the previous video, and I want to bring this up again because this is something that you should constantly having in your the back of your mind, is how do we go about building trust? So remember the 4 ways that we talked about to build trust in the previous video. Constantly be thinking about how can you pepper those throughout what you do in your marketing efforts. So we talked about credibility, we talked about niching, we talked about a strong offer, and we talked about like branding or likability. I should probably find a better little catchy word for that. Anyway, whatever. So think like what of these do you have that you can leverage to your advantage to take advantage of a better, more attention grabbing background image? So credibility, perhaps you have a picture of you at an altar talking in front of a crowd of 1,000 people. That's a great way to build credibility. And if I was to land on that page, I would instantly think, oh wow, this person is an expert at something. Hopefully the thing that they're promoting. So that's one way. Or you could potentially leverage the big brands that you've worked with in the past. And that's a powerful, very powerful strategy. I've seen it have a night and day difference on campaigns just by having the big brands that company, like an agency, like marketing agency, has worked with in the past. Now, a lot of companies are somewhat reluctant to do that because they're worried about, oh, maybe I don't have permission, or, but they're happy to put it on their website. If you can get those logos up there on your banner, very powerful strategy. I guarantee you it's going to help you increase your conversion. If you're niching, let's say you're, an example with one of our clients was they were a business or a leadership coach for blue collar industries. And so rather than just having, some sort of generic building, we had, blue collar workers and a banner that sort of highlighted, where we work in leadership development, helping improve your leaders in this space, and having an image that was responsive or conducive to that actual niche, help people to understand and just have that feeling that this is actually specific to our industry. So even just having the right imagery can help people understand that you're an expert in a specific field. Offer, if you have a really strong offer, you could potentially have it on the image up here. Likability, I'm not really sure of any ways that you would put that into the banner, or maybe, you do some charity work and there's a picture of you doing something valuable or working in some of your charities overseas. Perhaps you can have that up there. I'm sure you've seen that before when you go to people's websites and there's pictures of them in Africa helping feed poor people. These are all things that you can do as well. That's what these strategies exist for a reason, right? So just think, what do you have here? What can you leverage? What's the most powerful thing in your repertoire that you can use to build a credible background image here? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is your actual headline. Oh, and just quickly, if you're not great at graphic design, go on Fiverr, go on Upwork, pay someone, $20, $100, get them to do a good design here. Tried using AI to do it. It's not great, but yeah, plenty of platforms to do it. They'll do a much better job than you can, most likely, unless you're a designer. Next thing you want to focus on is getting your headline right. And the reason your headline's so important is because it follows you around everywhere you go on LinkedIn. And if it's right, or you do a good job of it, people will see it and they'll actually click on it, and then they'll land on your profile, and then they'll see the image and they'll actually want to read more. They'll get to this summary section here. So it's really important we get this right. Think, once again, we talked about credibility, niche, offer, likability. What can you put in here? Now, a really good structure here is really to identify your target market, call them out, and identify, what is the problem you solve or the value you provide. Well, I can't write today. And if you can fit it in, any credibility to support that as well. So what I'm going to do is if you look at the screen now, I've got a really great guide that goes into more detail than I'm going to go into this video right now. And it talks about how to actually structure your headline and has a whole bunch of different examples that have worked really well in the past as well. So if you head to b2bleads.com, I'll pop it down here, .com/profile. So b2bleads.com/profile, that's going to take you to this guide as well. So if you haven't written up a profile guide before, it's going to take you through more and more detail. We're going to keep this fairly high level, but this is going to be a great guide if you wanted to dive in and do it in more detail. Another thing to do is consider using ChatGPT as well to help get you started. Basically, say you're trying to write your LinkedIn profile. You want it to be marketing centered around these services that we provide. This is what we do well. So you feed it like we're really credible because we have these case studies. We're focused on this specific thing. We have this offer. This is why our clients like us. Help us put together something, a great profile. It's probably not going to be great, but it's a starting point, and it's a really good way to get moving quickly and get that out through that writer's block process. So just think, calling out your market, identifying the value, and how can you build credibility around the idea that you can deliver that, building trust and credibility that you are able to deliver on the value that you say you can to the market that you say you service. Now, assuming you got that right, people are actually going to have a look at your profile and want to learn more. There should be most likely a link somewhere to your company page as well. And your company page is pretty much the same as your profile. It has an image, it has a logo, and it has a little bit of an about blurb. This more or less is the same. So your profile section here you might need to adjust it slightly, but for the most part, you're talking about the value your company provides your target market. And so it's very much aligned to what's going to be on the company page as well. You do need to have both of these, and the cool thing is the strategy is very much aligned here. You might even ask GPT, can you shorten this and tidy it up so it fits on my actual LinkedIn company page. Great way to do that nice and quickly. Now, when it comes to writing your about section here, think of this as like a micro elevator pitch. Basically, this is your opportunity to help identify your target market's core problems and help show them like what you do well in the space. Now, I'm going to keep coming back to this, which you should have done in the previous video, identifying what you're doing well under each of these sections. And then what I often do with our clients is list a bunch of headings that can help sort of get the flow and give you a bit of a structure to how you would go about structuring your LinkedIn profile in a way that's very powerful and actually gets people to take action at the end. So think of this as a bit of a structure. You don't need all of these headings, but having these headings is a great way to help you think, what could I actually do? One thing we like to do is start with what I do, why us, what do you actually do? What is the value you provide, and who do you help? Very similar, this is almost like a reiteration of your headline. Why us is, why you specifically? What makes you different? This is like one of the things that I covered first in this video series and on the website homepage is what makes us different. Because unless you're doing something very unique, chances are there are other people like you, and you want to help your potential clients understand what is it that makes you different or unique or better than the other people in the market. Who I work with is a great way to, once again, highlight either the people that, the specific problems of the people that you help, because that'll help actually identify that you know your audience and their pain and that you know how to help them. Or you could even do similar to what we were talking about before, listing the big brands and organizations that you've worked with in the past and leveraging their credibility by association. Services is one we often remove, but depending on the market awareness, you may actually list your services here because it's something that people know about and are actually searching for specifically. Results is a really powerful one if you have good results that you can list. Think numbers, think one sentence case studies. We helped John, 3 is the magical number here. We helped John achieve ABC by XYZ. That's as complicated as it needs to be. So one sentence case studies, 3 ideally. Sometimes people will put what people say about us as a sort of results, but try to get actual results in what people say about you, not just character reference like, hey, John was a great guy to work with and we like him. Think numbers, always be thinking numbers, think specifics. What did you actually do that actually helped them? What was the actual outcome, measurable outcome? If you don't have that, that's fine. You can either exclude this part or just think about the actual, put the character references or testimonials in, but numbers are always better where possible. Now, who we've helped, I sort of covered that up there. So this is where you can list some big logos and brands. I sort of accidentally covered it up there. Background is, if you're really haven't got much to work with in terms of those 4 ways that we talked about to build trust, having an interesting background can be a good way just to build trust and likability. Maybe you've done a lot of charity work in the past. Maybe you have an interesting background. Maybe traveled the world, you did all these interesting things. Work with what you got in order to generate interest and trust with what you're doing. And finally, you always want to finish with a call to action. You don't want to leave people hanging. You need to tell them and help guide them. What do they need to do next? Generally, you want to guide them to your website, to a resource, to one of the lead magnets we talked about earlier in the video, depending on what you got, but you need them to take some sort of next action that's going to progress them through your customer journey and get them to learn more about you, trust you, and want to book a call. Maybe you have just a link to book a call. Hey, book a call with us if you're interested to learn more. That's a common call to action, but you never want to finish with nothing here. Always finish with a call to action. But like I said, the link I mentioned previously, so b2bleads.com/profile, and that'll take you to this guide where I can walk you through it in a little bit more detail than what we talked about here, share some examples too. It's going to be a great resource if you haven't developed your LinkedIn profile just yet. All right, I hope you found that useful. As I mentioned at the start, there's a whole ton of other videos in this series. So if you're interested in checking them out, just click on the playlist that should be up on the screen right here.